Okay, so this is the worksheet we started to work with on Tuesday, and we have our formula in here which will calculate our standard pay. That doesn't yet account for overtime, so I'm just going to remove this comment and then we're going to insert the correct formula to account for overtime. So I'm just clicking on the review tab and remove that comment. So in our formula bar we have if H5, right, so H5 is highlighted in blue, is less than or equal to 7, then multiply K2, which is in green, by H5. Alright, so if that is not the case, so I go into my formula, so now value if true is highlighted, so I've put my comma, then I'm on to value if false, alright, as it says in the formula. So if H5, if my hours are not greater than, if my hours as decimal are greater than 7, so that means if they're not less than or equal to, I need to multiply those hours by the overtime rate. So what I need to do is multiply K2 by 7, okay, and I need to add the overtime rate by overtime as decimal, and I'm going to put all that in brackets. And then close my if bracket. Okay, so now if, say, instead of finishing at 5 o'clock I finish at 6, right, it accounts for my overtime. Right, so just have a look at that formula. Alright, now if I use the fill handle, it won't work because I have not made my cells absolute. So I need to go back into the formula, right, and these values here, if I use the fill handle, okay, the formula will not work unless these K values are absolute. So I'm just going to make the K values absolute by pressing F4. Okay, and I don't need to make K5 absolute. So now let's see what happens. Right, so that appears to have worked, and if I go into 2nd of January just to test the formula and say I've done 2 extra hours, right, so there you are, the formula now works. Right, there's the formula. Okay, now after that we made we named our data validation rules, right? So in the control sheet, if I select the column A, right, we call that leave, right? So in the column E we call it position, right? Alright, so we have our leave and our position. So in here, if I add a job in here, so I'm going to add in project manager. The drop down menu, it won't show because this is still referring to range of cells E1 to E5. So I need that to refer to position. So if I just click back into here and go to data validation, alright, so as it stands it's only referring to E1 to E5. Let's have a look. Right, so E1 to E5. So I need to include E6, and if I include E6, just delete the contents of this first of all, and then select the range, in fact the entire column. Alright, so then it just recognizes it as position. So I have my project manager in there, and anything else that I might like to add in. So clerical, we can just say sales. Right, so now sales will be on my drop down list. Okay, and we're also referring to leave. Right, so instead of having this refer to the range of cells, we'll refer to the entire column. So data validation, and we just delete the contents, and let's refer to leave. Okay, so if I add in my maternity or whatever for equality, paternity, these will now appear in my drop down list. Okay, so in the next video we're going to look at SUMIF and COUNTIF.